Hey, welcome to Film vs. Movie, the podcast where we debate the cinema. Hey, I'm your co-host, Belton DeLaine-Facey.
And my name's Chris Shurr.
And on this podcast, we watch the films that have been slandered, desecrated, put through a second and more awkward puberty by public opinion. And one of us tells you why it's actually pretty good.
And the other one tells you why it's a steaming pile of shit.
And today's movie that we're discussing is Barely Lethal, which out of all the movies we've done, I feel like this is the title that does the most work. Not necessarily good work, but it does a lot of work.
It's adventurous. It's an adventurous, because they made two jokes where I'm like, I really don't know if this is like what they're going. Okay, at one point they're like, when they drew the dick on the girl's face, and they're like, she was like, oh, my face got Pablo Picasso'd. And I was like, oh, there's another painter that you can use as a verb to defile someone's face. And I'm like, that's kind of a risky joke for this teenage comedy.
It's funny you mentioned that. In the research, apparently, originally the MPA, which gives the movies its age appropriate rating, initially gave it an R rating, but they appealed to get a PG-13.
What do you think they took out?
Apparently, they didn't edit anything about the movie. They just, I guess, they wrote an appeal, which is essentially a letter asking them, please. Like,
I feel like the appeal is you write to them. You're like, I feel like you're projecting onto us. We made an innocent movie about teenagers, and here you are making it out to be some sick, perverted piece of work.
Yeah, honestly, I do feel like most R-rated high school movies could easily appeal with, hey, have you been to an actual public school before? Like, this is tame compared to what they're saying. But Barely Lethal is about a teenage girl who is raised as essentially a special ops agent, and she fakes her own death to live out her fantasy of going to high school as a normal teenager.
Yeah, she saw a bunch of movies and wanted to live that life.
Yeah. All right. So getting into the plot, the film opens essentially setting up like the semi-government agency called Prescott Academy, where they basically take girls who are orphans and fully raise them into special agents. If you're familiar with Marvel, it's kind of a sanitized version of the Black Widow program.
I love that genre of film. Anytime where you're like, okay, how are we going to get this like task done that we have ways of doing? And they're like, well, how about orphans? That no one will miss them, right?
The old Batman philosophy. Like, I get like turns out if you find an orphan, you can just pick it up and train them in martial arts.
Like, no one's had an open mic, and they're like, man, no one's changed the comedy scene for a while. And they're like, what should we do? And they're like, let's go hit up the orphanage, like foster programs. They've got nothing to lose.
And so this program is led by Hardman, which he's played by Samuel L. Jackson. I feel like this is a blatantly dirty joke to have a man kidnap orphan girls and essentially groom him, and his name is Hardman.
Samuel L. Jackson like looked a little different in this movie. I feel like they tried to make him look softer or not look like Agent Fury.
Yeah, because I feel like this movie came out like 2015, and it was shot in 2013. So at that point, Avengers had already come out, and the roles his character and Nick Fury have are similar enough where I feel like you're easily gonna make comparisons.
Yeah, he looks a lot skinnier in this movie. I don't know. Maybe that's it. He just looks different.
I think he's just like not wearing the long jacket of Nick Fury and that.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
no eye patch either.
Yeah. All right, and so the movie focuses on Agent 83, who later in the movie goes by Megan. She's a top agent in her class, and as mentioned before, while she's on assignment, she watches a bunch of high school movies like 10 Things I Hate About You, Mean Girls, whole drama. So she fantasizes about being a normal teenager. And so she's sent to apprehend an arms dealer named Victoria Knox, who's played by Jessica Alba. And during the apprehension, she falls, and instead of asking for rescue, she plays dead.
Yeah.
So that's when she fakes her death. She looks up foreign exchange programs, finds a nice looking family, and essentially moves in with them, pretending to be a Canadian exchange student.
I still think that might be the biggest plot hole in the movie. She was in like Eastern Europe and like Belarus, and she managed to get enough documentation to get to America. Like, that's impressive, but she had no support. I don't know how much skills did she have with like forgery and international espionage, like that kind of stuff.
I imagine that that's at least part of their skill set. If you have to go undercover all that much. Although, like, I also imagine they have a lot of tech support, so they have someone logistically being like, "I need a fake passport." Okay, all right, we'll get it to you tomorrow.
Exactly.
Yeah. Also, I have to say, so when she's picking out the family she wants to live with, she picks his family because they look like a happy family, and so that the picture she looks at contains a cameo from Topher Grace. And he's just in this goofy ass mustache. It's something where once you realize it's Topher Grace, you can't help but wonder why they put him in his mustache.
It might have been like they wanted him. That was like his own choice.
Yeah, like, because I imagine they want to make him look like sort of a corny dad. Because like in a lot of TV shows and movies, those end up being like the most wholesome and good dads. But it's like I do feel like the mustache was too much, especially considering he doesn't appear in the rest of the movie.
Yeah, okay, that's the other thing. Like, why get a famous actor and pay him money just to appear in one photo? Do you think that was like part? We'll get to that later.
Yeah. Although considering this was shot in 2013, they lucked out in which cast member of that 70s show they picked. Like, literally anyone else, we'd be having a different conversation right now. All right, so she arrives to family. She finds out the parents are divorced and the dad ran off. And her new, like, I don't know what's the term. I know it's not stepsister, but I guess exchange family sister.
Found family sister.
Found family. We'll go with found family sister Liz. She's just very cold to her, and she clearly didn't want to sign up for this. And so Megan goes to school. Megan goes to school. She's introduced at a school assembly. She makes friends with this kid named Roger, and when she's introduced, everyone immediately starts making fun of her.
She gets roasted. Really, she gets to school and is roasted all the way to the point that she gets on stage. Like, she has to do a outfit change 5 minutes into being school. They decimate her. There's some mean kids.
Because at the school assembly, she's like, "I'm from Regina, Saskatchewan." So everyone's like, "Regina." Which honestly, that is a very high school thing to do.
Yeah.
So everyone's making fun of her at the assembly until popular kid Cash steps in and starts playing music to just more positive vibes, essentially. And so he finds out Cash is in her biology class, so she breaks into the school overnight and hacks the teacher's computer to change the seating chart to put them right next to each other.
It's a lot of breaking and entering for like a chill guy.
But I do understand she she's not a normal teenage girl with a crush. She's an assassin with a crush. So she's like, all right, this is what I can do. And so after that, two bullies convince her she Cash would think she's a lot cooler if she became the school mascot, and so at band practice where she is the mascot, mask assailants attack her. She takes them down because she's trained in like 1500 martial arts, and only to find out they're from the rival school doing the classic trope of kidnapping the mascot.
Yep.
And so when that video goes viral, she suddenly becomes popular. Cash invites her to watch his band practice, but this grabs the attention of Hardman and the Prescott Academy. So he picks her up, assuming she just started working for one of their enemies. When she clears things up, he's just like, all right, wrap things up so we can get you out of here.
Yep.
And so Megan drags Liz to a house party where Liz gets drunk and bonds with the class clown who's named Gooch. I think he has a real name, but that's how he's listed in the credits.
James?
Probably. It's something it's probably one of those common names where it's like, all right, your parents decide you're getting a nickname,
like Sebastian or something. I don't. Maybe not quite Sebastian.
No, it's like you know how pretty much everyone named Matthew, you don't call him Matthew, you call him a nickname or their last name.
That's true.
And so at this house party, as Megan's hanging out with Cash, Agent 84, who was her rival in Prescott Academy, shows up going by Heather and tries to seduce Cash, and which Megan wins that battle when Cash asks her homecoming, but in doing so, she leaves Liz passed out on the couch, and it hurts Roger's feelings when he sees her leaving with Cash. He obviously has a crush on her.
Yeah, and then someone draws a dick on Liz's face. They make it home. The mom's chastising Liz for having a dick on her face. The mom's chastising Megan for not making sure that a dick wasn't drawn on her face. They like become friends out of it.
Yeah, it was like their weird bonding moment, and right after that, Hardman warns Megan that Knox escaped, and he's like, we really need to get you out of here, but she's like, no, I'm staying. And Hardman's just like, all right, but we can't offer you protection. And with all the sexual innuendos in this movie, I realize what I just said.
Yep.
And so as Liz and Megan are driving to school, they're suddenly attacked by a masked assassin from another SUV. The assassin escapes, but Megan identifies a perfume and realizes it has to be Heather. And so while Roger and Gooch visit Liz at the hospital, Megan calls Hardman like, "Why'd you send an assassin after? Why'd you send Heather after me?" And Hardman goes, "We thought Heather died when Knox escaped." And so Heather's going rogue, and Megan just tells Liz everything. So they go into homecoming ready to just beat the shit out of Heather. Really,
yeah.
They're like, this is war. If you've seen 21 Jump Street and remember the sequence of them just hiding guns under their prom suits, it's like this movie's version of that. And so at homecoming, Megan gets bored of Cash finally, and reveals her feelings towards Roger when she finds out he's there as Heather's date, and so they just start fighting. Like these two are on-site rivals, and that's something I appreciate.
I want to get to that point in my life, like someone who you just square up as soon as you see him. Also, no one quite like everyone. They just broke out in a karate fight in the middle of prom, and everyone wasn't like super psyched about it.
Because it started with Megan literally just throwing her her shoes. Like she was just like, "What weapons do I have available? High heels."
Yeah, that's not how you use heels. You want to like swing those fuckers. You get that little contact point on the stiletto.
Yeah. And so in the ensuing fight, Heather reveals she joined Knox just so she could kill Megan. Like it's really just that on site. She joined the enemies. She's just like, you could kill this one girl. And she's like, done. Like I'm sure Knox gave the author. She was just like, I was about to like explain all the health benefits, but you kind of just settled for
no, she got a bunch of cash too. She said it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she was like, oh, and I got to kill you, and the cash was nice too. And then she like saunters off.
Yeah, and so when Megan and Liz get back home, Mrs. Larson, Liz's mom, and Parker, her little brother, are held hostage. Knox reveals she was the very first agent in the Prescott program, and but turned against for robbing her of her life. And so they start fighting, and Hardman comes in with reinforcements and decides to let Megan stay with the family. So, and then Megan and Liz use the helicopter to find Roger. He and Megan kiss, and they fly off. And then in the mid-credit scene, Heather orders a Knox henchman to find out every place Megan's applying to college. Which is always sad when you watch the mid-credit scene for a movie that's not getting a sequel.
Yeah, I think that's why they had Topher Grace in the picture. I think they were like setting something up so that way they'd be like, oh, it turns out the dad's a spy too. Ooh. And that's why he had to leave.
Oh, that would have been good. That would have been good if they just planted that seed beforehand. That would make a lot more sense than just hiring Topher Grace for a photo shoot.
Like, imagine also they could have had a great scene where he tears off the mustache and everyone been like, we knew it was fake. I kind of figured spy or like a fair person or second family, but the mustache wasn't fooling anyone. And he's like, this was a great mustache.
Yeah. All right. So some production history. This was directed by Kyle Newman, who mostly directs music videos. And to be fair, he seems to be very successful directing music videos. The most notable ones he's done, Style by Taylor Swift and Summertime Sadness by Lana Del Rey.
Oh shit, he did that.
Yeah, he's got some good shit under his belt.
Yeah.
It was written by John Darko. This is the only feature film he has written that's been produced. He did write for an anime series, and I feel like I could give you 100 guesses, you would never get it. It's like a Hulu series of trolls based on like those animated movies.
You mean like the little doll with the funky heads?
Yeah, like you know how now they have the trolls animated movies with Justin Timberlake and Anna Kendrick. It's a TV series in that world.
Oh, okay.
And in an interview, Dove Cameron, who plays Liz, she said the actors were encouraged to improvise a lot. She said there were times the director would just tell him like, hey, feel free to come in tomorrow with just a bunch of lines we can try out. And they filmed this from November 2013 through December of the year near Atlanta. All the scenes in the high school were filmed in what was Newton High School in Covington, Georgia. So apparently the school district, they had recently built a new high school. Soon after that school essentially closed, they filmed there, and that building was turned into a community college.
Huh. It wasn't a bad looking building.
Yeah, like it makes sense. So and so it's like they just didn't really change anything. They were just like, hey, don't take the decorations down yet. And the Prescott Center was filmed at this place called Guardian Center in Perry, Georgia, which is a training facility for like military and first responders. Which, like, looking at their website, they have like a full on campus for this, and so like I just really want to see. I really wish I could see the PR guy's reaction. When he has to tell like all his management, it's just like, hey, so this teen movie wants to film here.
They're like, actually, we're building a new cop city, so this one's about to close down, and you.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God. With the cop city and Atlanta, what sucks is there's going to be some movie that tries to film there.
Oh yeah.
And I guess this is a fun fact. Haley Steinfeld, who plays Megan, this is where she met Sophie Turner, who plays Heather, and Haley Steinfeld would eventually introduce her to Joe Jonas, who she is currently going through a divorce with. Yeah, it's not enough this movie has a 26 on Rotten Tomatoes. It's also responsible for a custody battle.
Yeah, I was like, Sansa Stark could play the shit out of a bitchy teenager.
Oh yeah, because watching interviews with Sophie Turner on this movie, she seems to really enjoy this role.
Like, she ate it up.
Yeah, and it's like, if you ever seen the movie that came out on Netflix last year, Do Revenge, it's like she has a small role in that, but it's like she eats her screen time.
She's
like,
a great actress. Yeah, we need more of her. Now that she's divorced, she'll have more time. Start pumping out roles. God damn.
Yeah. All right. So this movie had a very limited theater release because like, at least at the time, A24 had this weird deal with DirecTV and DirecTV Cinema, where like some of their stuff would get released on there before theater release. So this was released on DirecTV Cinema April 30th, 2015. And it got a limited release in theaters and video on demand on May 29th of that year. So, because of that, this had a budget of $15 million. It made under $1 million at the box office, but it's like, we don't know how many people tuned in on DirecTV Cinema and paid video on demand at the same time.
So that's why you've just like never heard of this movie.
Yeah.
On paper, this should have been like, it's not it shouldn't have been like winning an Academy Award, but you should have been like, oh shit, did you see that Barely Lethal movie this summer? And you'd be like, yeah, I saw it with like my girlfriend and her sister. It was like a fun time.
Yeah, because it has a really good cast, with especially it had Haley Steinfeld, who like at this point she was the biggest name. Sophie Turner, who was doing Game of Thrones at the time, in addition to Samuel Jackson and Jessica Alba. Like, I felt like this is and it has like a very simple premise to promote. Like, this feels like a movie that could have easily been promoted. Like,
catchy title. It was all there.
All right, to be fair with the title, like, watching the trailer, you're like, okay, this is for teenagers. As soon as Barely Lethal pops up, I'm like, okay, this is for perverts.
Barely Lethal sounds like a porn parody of James Bond.
Yeah, no, that's something I was thinking. I was just like, okay, this sounds like this would be this movie's porn parody title.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now it's time for our opening statements. Chris will be defending this, and I will be attacking.
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, you can start.
Okay. I think this might be the best movie we've watched on the podcast. Honestly, like, I don't even think this is a bad movie, but it's not amazing. but it's not bad by any standard. It's a fun, silly little movie about a teenage spy trying to live a normal life. You could go watch it with your family and have a wonderful Sunday. Zero complaints. I think it succeeded perfectly in what it was.
All right. My opening statement. Barely Lethal starts strong with a clear identity and journey for his protagonist. That identity is quickly abandoned for no good reason. Falling to the cliches it's set to satirize, this film sadly gets reined in by its budget, preventing them from reaching their somewhat low ambitions. Yeah, so I just want to talk about, because this movie, like, once she starts high school, it does start strong with what it's trying to be. Like, it takes into account, like, okay, she is essentially an assassin slash spy whose like only knowledge of high school are high school movies, and so I think it starts off doing well with that, like like at the part where cheerleaders invite her to sit, she's just like, okay, you guys are the mean girls and you're gonna bully me, and they're like, I thought we were being nice. And then the actual mean girls are unpopular girls. Like that was a good reversal of the trope. And then when she wants to sit next to Cash, she breaks into the school and hacks onto to the computer, and like I think that was good, because she was solving high school problems as a secret agent, and I thought that was a really good setup and a really fun collection of ideas to work with. I think, however, after the mascot fight gets popular, they just kind of abandon that. Like it just follows tropes without real acknowledgement of them, and I feel like that's when she starts just solving a lot of high school problems as a teenage girl instead of a secret spy.
Yeah, but that's like kind of that's the character growth a little bit. I know they kind of just shoehorn that shit in there pretty quickly and without like actually writing an arc that facilitates the growth. But that's what they're going for, is like that shift from the spy coming into the way I describe it is Forest Girl goes to the big city, where it's the girl who's raised by wolves. There's like a lot of different versions of this character, where it could be like a demon who comes from a different universe and suddenly ends up in the human world. And so he tries to solve things like demon style and has to, I digress, but like, I fucking love that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you can do the transaction, but make it more gradual. Like there are certain things that could just be like elevated versions of what a teenager would do. Like one thing with her crush on Cash, I know it's a common thing to just like cyber stalk your crush, but it's like she could take that further and just like find his social security number and know all the info about him.
Yeah, but that kind of takes it from like quirky girl, not quite sure how to date, to like really creepy person. I mean, that's the thing. Realistically, she didn't grow up with boundaries, so she really wouldn't know where they are. Yeah, but Belton, it's like a light movie. You can't have her like, what's next? She's gonna like make a bunch of purchases on that dude's credit card, and then she consoles him over the fact that he got his identity stolen. It gets like pretty.
I'm not saying like maliciously steal his identity, but more so look things up, like use very personal information to just like do nice things for him, because I guess that's also one thing. Like her and Cash don't really get to know each other at all.
Okay, honestly, I know okay. I have 2 points. One is, I think they kind of set that up in the beginning by the fact that she did have a certain amount of like personality and regular person in her, where at the beginning of the movie, it's showing that all the other agents are just like performing their tasks as they're supposed to. But even before she's exposed to other media, she's like playing with dolls. So I think there's like the implication that she has a certain amount of personal skills from a younger age. So I don't know if it's like quite black or white, but also I hated the whole thing with Cash. Like I feel like they should have dropped that in the first quarter of the movie.
Yeah, the thing is, like with Cash, I feel like he fits the trope of the typical popular guy. Like he's in a band. All the girls are swooning after him. I feel like there were a couple ways they could go with that trope beyond just kind of playing it straightforward. Like she could see him as because generally with that trope, there's kind of two ways it goes. Usually he's either an asshole, and she finds that out, and then she goes to Roger, who was just the nice guy best friend all along, or he seems shallow, but actually has something deeper in him, and so they spend time together and find that out. And considering the film was just blatantly self-referential earlier, she could have some sort of acknowledgement that oh, maybe she's searching for the deeper meaning in him. And then because you also have like Liz juxtaposed, so she easily could have been like, there is no deeper meaning, he's just a bland ass guitarist.
But she does say that in the car when she's still got a little bit of like the Sharpie on her face. She's like, I don't know why you're so obsessed with this boy. Yeah, he's cute and he plays music, but that's kind of it. She does like kind of push Meg in that direction.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is Megan, like it, because it also establishes how she views essentially high school as a mission. So so like I think I was looking for her to define like that for herself of like, oh, like there's something deeper in him.
She just wanted puns. She wanted like a typical high school movie experience, which isn't typical. And then she ended up finding a typical high school experience, which doesn't necessarily need any greater. I'm running into issues where it's like, it's a movie that's trying to play off movies and then turns into like the lesson is that life isn't a movie. So it's kind of honestly, it's a little confusing by the end.
Yeah, and I think like with the high school stuff, like with his focus on that, I feel like the assassin part just stops heavily mixing into it. Like I know they bring in Heather as her rival, but they really only have one scene together before the big fight at the end.
Yeah, they could have like amped it up a little bit.
Yeah, like I think it would have been cool to like watch her assassin life interfere with her high school life a lot more, because Harmon felt like a superficial threat. Like he kept saying he would do stuff, but never really did anything.
Yeah, and I don't know, she never really got that paranoid, which is like kind of a weird. She only had it like once or twice, but if you think you're like a spy who escaped a child spy facility that takes out liabilities, you'd be a lot more paranoid, especially at the beginning of this whole little ordeal.
Yeah, because she was essentially undercover for herself, and considering Harmon grooms kids to kill people, it's like once Harmon show up and he knew where she was, she kind of should have been looking over her shoulder a lot more.
Yeah. Do they train them to kill people, or do they train them to like complete spy missions?
I imagine they like ramp up to killing people.
Do they? Man, I could let they could. I kind of wish there was a sequel to flesh out this, like break the premise a little bit and just see where they wanted to go with it.
Yeah, I kind of wish this was a TV series because it would give them more time to flesh out and really play around with kind of the multiple ideas they have floating around with this, and plus, like when I was thinking about like what this movie kind of set up, and I was thinking like, oh, this is what I wish they just added to it. All my thoughts were like, oh, that's a lot more money. And I also think there are parts in this where the budget really shows.
Yeah.
Like particularly with a lot of the action scenes, because I mean that car chase felt uneventful because the most intense thing they really did was drive over a grass median.
Okay, I think the action was fine. I think for what the film was, at no point was I was like, oh, it's taking me out of it. I was just kind of like, yeah, this is kind of what I expect. It's just the right amount where it's not too distracting.
I mean, the thing is, for a lot of the action scenes, the way they cut it, you don't actually see the hits. So it's just like a cheat code around like being well choreographed. Like particularly because in the opening sequence when they're introducing the Prescott Academy and they're having the little kids just stunt drive cars, you don't actually see a car stunt drive. They literally just do quick shots of a car and then a car is coming to a screeching halt. So it's like telling the audience just like, hey, just imagine something cool happened here.
Well, yeah, but like they're also being like, just imagine there's a whole spy agency that employs orphans. Like, I'm fine with it. Honestly,
Yeah,
I completely understand what you're saying, but as the movie side of this podcast to the film side, I just want to say, like, I didn't notice any of that. The film successfully took like the lesser eye. And I was like, okay, I get what they're saying. It's not too distracting. They're just setting up this like cheeky teenage spy drama, and I'm digging it. But honestly, I also am not the biggest fan of that kind of setup where they're like this and this. They did the same thing with like, what's the kissing booth.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that's a pretty common thing in a lot of high school movies to have that sort of like opening narration to introduce things. So like I wasn't mad about that because I thought they were just playing off of that. But I do think like if you're like when a core part of your premise is a spy agency, it's like I want to see the action. I want to see the spy stuff, and it's like I think there are like low budget ways to go about that, but it does feel like at moments it's like they got too ambitious and then had to rein themselves in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was a music video director.
Yeah.
And a guy who's never done anything but Trolls. Like, I don't know. I went in with very low expectations, and it kind of like blew me out of the water with how much better it was. And I was like, oh shit, at 20% Rotten Tomatoes. I was just like, this is gonna be a really bad movie, but it was good.
Yeah, and then also like a lot of the shots just had like bad overexposure. Like it looks like they didn't light it completely right on set, and so then in editing they were trying to color correct, and it's like, okay, either the background's gonna be way too bright or the actors are gonna look messed up, and they're like, okay, I guess the background's gonna be too bright.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Disney original movie.
I mean, I feel like part of it is like maybe they didn't have a team that was too experienced with green screen.
Probably so.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, green screen is something where it's like, oh, once you have it down, there's a lot you could do with it, but working with it for the first time, there were just things you don't really think about because like with the green screen you got light so there are no shadows on it, and then you have to give all the actors the lighting that's realistic to what you're putting behind them, and
But also, I it was happening in like outdoor shots too that weren't CGI. Like there's a scene when she first gets to high school, and it's like she just walked out of a dark. Just the grass behind her is just like fucking bright. But I feel like that was a live shot because it didn't really need to be green screen.
Because they shot at an actual school. I also point out like during like the explaining montage, there's a shot where they have Samuel L. Jackson dressed in all black, and then just an all black background. Where I was just like, you could have just made the room gray, so we didn't blend into it. I felt like just that one simple thing, and looking at the pictures of the facility where they shot it, and like the other scenes, like they had plenty of gray to work with.
No, they're going for the Batman vibe. They're just like they had to cut the scene where Samuel L. was like, "I was born in darkness." Not a good Batman. Not a good Batman at all. I want to talk about the casting. Amazing casting. Steinfeld, very good at the teenage spy. She pulled off the Forest Child very well. Sansa Stark ate it up. Sophie Turner. I thought the quirky and supportive, I don't know who played it, but the quirky and supportive mom was really good, along with Liz and the kid. Just the actors and actresses, or no, all, yeah, they killed the found family, quirky single mom, all working together, being very inclusive vibe.
Yeah, so the mom was played by Rachel Harris, she's best known. She has a regular role on the series Lucifer.
Oh, okay. I've never seen that.
Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah. The casting was definitely good. I think around this time, Haley Steinfeld also did Edge of 17. So she was just like squarely in that like awkward teenager era.
Can we talk about? There is a scene with Samuel L. Jackson and Steve-O together, and it was a torture scene. Like it was perfect.
It was okay, I know we mentioned Topher Grace. Steve-O was truly the most random cameo in this movie.
And he killed it. He ate up the part too. I know it was like a small part and it was kind of hard to fuck up, but like you did it really well.
Yeah, and also like knowing that the actors were encouraged to improvise a lot. I'm also wondering, it's like oh, what lines in there were improvised? Because I could see like some of them like making it up, and then they just play off each other. But it's like that scene was really funny, where he's like, who you work for? She's just like, I worked a few months at Sbarro. You work for International Arms Dealer Raphael Sbarro.
He's like, no, it's like an Italian pizza chain.
Yeah, like Steve-O, I just want to know what he was given about his character, because I mean, he could. I feel like his character easily could have just been a nothing role, where you look at it, it's just like, why are you even here? But he clearly had something about where it's just like, all right, I can make this work.
I feel like they went to him and they're just like, hey, you want to do a scene with Samuel L? And he's like, say no more. And they just didn't give him a script. And they're like, just say some. We wrote a few lines for everyone else, just like try and fit into it. And he's like, I'm not that good of an actor. Like that's what you would say to a great comedy actor. But I'm the stapling my balls to the chair guy. Or am I going to staple my balls to something? And they're like, no, you're just going to be a delight because you're actually wonderful. And he's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sober now. I'm doing a lot better.
Yeah. Also, I just want to say is because while watching, you correctly predicted the twist that Knox was actually a former student of Prescott, in her interrogation scene with Samuel L. Jackson, I was getting former lover vibes.
I feel like it's a little bit of both. Like once you live, you have a working relationship that involves like spying and assassinate. Like it's more intimate than a sexual relationship.
Yeah, I mean, considering he essentially grooms little girls, that's a weird implication for them because I think watching it, initially I was just like, all right, they clearly have some involvement with each other in the past. I think it was as soon as he started laying down on the table like he was posing for 70s R&B album art, where I was just like, oh, they used to fuck.
Yeah, I don't know. That I saw that there's like they really didn't try to hide that.
Yeah. Yeah, it just made the potential sequel that much darker.
Oh yeah. The weird thing is, since there was a number one, this just started out with like Samuel L. Jackson saw a baby and a couple of dead parents, and he's like, I think I could cook here. Like I'm seeing assassins right now, like assassins and black ops.
I mean, I could see just like a flashback scene where he goes up to like some government director is like, let me pitch you the Prescott Initiative.
Okay, and then the one last Rob Hubel as the quiet boy's dad, who's just like he wants to be supportive, but he's so bad at it and he goes about it wrong in every single way. He kills it in any role like that.
No, it reminds me, it's kind of like Amy Poehler's role in Mean Girls, how she's just like the trying hard to be the cool mom, but she just comes off as like making people uncomfortable.
Yeah,
that's what it reminded me of. And it's like I thought that that was like if they had stuck with the we're gonna satirize these tropes, I thought he fit in really well with that. Where it's like other people are complaining, it's just like, oh, my parents don't really want to talk to me. They only care how my grades are. They don't care about me personally. And he's like, my dad cares too much about my life.
I love that actor never plays a likable character, but never like truly a detestable character either. It's always riding that line where you're like, I kind of get where he's coming from, but he's also like a bit of a scumbag or he's doing something wrong. But like he never plays like truly a villain, I don't feel like, unless someone's gonna be like, actually, he played serial killer Lil Baby in that one movie, and I'll be like, oh shit, you're right.
Yeah. All right. Well, now it's time for our concessions. This is where I give 3 things I liked about the movie, and Chris gives 3 things she doesn't like. So, one thing I will say, the film did understand its tone and sense of humor throughout. Like that, like I do think they could have kept like the self-referentiality throughout, but overall, it all fit within each other. It's especially considering like, oh, they did include like plenty of dirty jokes for like its high school audience because teenagers eat that shit up, but like didn't make it so dirty that that you would consider this a raunchy comedy.
Yeah,
like it rode that line really well.
I thought the ending with the villain being a founding member of the little girl spy ring is cliche, and they could have done something else. I think the lover would have been a more interesting aspect of it.
I mean, with her being a foreign member, I think like that plays into the idea that like oh, Megan just wanted to be a normal teenage girl, and like that would give Harmon the realization. It's just like, oh, I'm gonna lose even more agents like this, and like Megan's actually the best case scenario for that. I think it would have been better if they simply acknowledged that. But also, given the type of character Hardman is, like, I could see why he wouldn't say it out loud.
Yeah.
But I feel like they could have like signified that somewhat visually or something. Next, as we mentioned, the acting was really good. Everyone fit their roles well, as uh, especially finding out that they were encouraged to improvise. Like, really impressed me because usually well, not usually, but sometimes in movies where they're encouraged to improvise, like watching it there could be like distinct sections where you think about it for a second, it's just like, okay, they are clearly improvising. But I never felt that way watching this film.
Yeah, they did a really good job. I'm telling you, this thing would have made so much money in theaters. I I don't need to go into that.
Yeah, A24, they're usually on point, but they dropped the ball.
Yeah,
on
they
this.
shot themselves in the foot with that crappy Cablevision deal or Comcast or whoever. I feel like the cash part is an unneeded part of the story. I think it should have been like dealt with by the midway point, and they could have added more to the spy aspect of everything. Like, I honestly think she should have figured out Cash isn't the right one at the studio when they're recording.
Yeah, cause like that was a scene where you kind of feel awkward for her. He's just having her watch him play video games, and it's like it felt like that moment in Barbie movie where it's like the Ken take over and all the Barbies are one by one realizing, oh, this sucks, like that. Like it reminded me of when they had to take that one Barbie away because she was being forced to watch The Godfather. Last thing I would say, I like how they really filled the world with all these like small characters where it's like even if they don't have that much screen time, they still it still makes it feel real. Like the unpopular girls that initially bully Megan is like it's like they still get like a tiny bit of an arc.
The chemistry teacher.
Yeah, the chemistry teacher who's like should be on a list for how into Cash he is. And as you mentioned before, Roger's dad was a good addition. Even like at her school assembly, the principal like being excited is just like, oh, we have a foreign exchange student. Like we're gonna have more diversity, and it's like she's from Canada, really? Canada?
Even Gooch, like that was a throwaway part, but they managed to give him some like life.
Yeah, I mean, he fit really well into Liz's arc, which Liz was a really good juxtaposition to Megan.
Yeah, and then they shouldn't have tried to set it up for a sequel. I think take the movie you created. It's good. Like, it's a really good movie, and there's just no need for more.
Yeah. Yeah, the mid credits scene, like it just really feels awkward. Like mid credit scenes, they really gotta be reserved for established franchises where you're like, we're 99% sure we're getting a sequel, or else it just feels uncomfortable. Like I'm not sure if you ever seen like an awkward mid credit scene in the theaters, but it's a really what the fuck moment.
I have not.
Okay, so the worst one I've seen, if you know about Kingsman, the prequel to the Kingsman movies, so they use real historical figures as characters throughout the film, like Rasputin was a significant character. The assassination of Archduke Ferdinand was a significant plot point in the movie, and so in the mid credits scene, they have a big reveal where it's like it's in the style of Thanos's reveal at the end of Avengers, and then like in walks Adolf Hitler. Like watching it in the theater, everyone was just like, why would you even do this? what like I'm pretty sure like that mid-credit scene is why they're not making more sequels in that series.
Probably so. I'm trying to think of like other. I mean, there's so many bad sequels, but it's just I don't know. People, it's always like money grab, which is like very jarring after you watch a movie that was so good at being what it was.
Yeah. It feels weird because it's like they're pitching the series when they're just making one movie. Like for a TV show, obviously you would pitch like, oh, this is what we could do for season 2 and 3 because the goal of a TV show is you want to have it running for a bit to make it money. But for a standalone movie where the studio is just going to be like, we're going to pay for this movie right now, and then like if it's successful, then you can make a sequel off of what you have. Because I mean having Heather take over Knox's people that easily could have been like the first scene in a sequel if they got one.
Yeah. All right. You want to do closing statements?
Yep. All right. So there's some universe where this film is a teen classic, probably more than other films we've done. In those universes, the title likely isn't a pun on a porn term, but a cool idea was limited by the lack of ambition and couldn't be hidden by a big enough budget.
I think this is a fun movie. Like I feel like the way we talk about movies so often is that they have to be great or amazing or like do something special. But I think this movie was just fun. You watch it on like a Sunday with the girl you just started dating. You're a little hungover. You went out the night before. You could watch it with your kids. You could watch it with your mom. Like it's a fun movie that succeeds in what it wanted to be. And for what is it like 110 minutes long or something?
It's
90.
I think something like that.
90 minutes. You will just be immersed in it. And you'll finish it and you'll be like, that's like a very good movie. I'd give it like a 79 to an 84 out of 100 instead of a 20.
Yeah. After watching it, I was also surprised it was a 26 on Rotten Tomatoes. And then skimming some reviews, like a lot of critics did start with like, why would you call this barely lethal? And they thought they thought that that was just slimy. But no, I probably wouldn't go as high as you, but I would say it deserves like at least a solid 50 on Rotten Tomatoes. Like,
okay.
Like it was definitely fun. It was definitely fun. Like somewhere between 50 and 60.
Yeah.
It did deserve more than what it got.
It was a good movie. Like I'd watch a second one.
Yeah.
I don't think the second one would be good though.
The second one would probably be one of those sequels where it's like it's essentially the first one, except she and Liz are in college.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's it.
Yep. This has been another episode of Film versus Movie. Follow us and check us out for more.
Thank you.